Georgia's modern chivalry, and all the weary, weary rest of it. The Southern chivalry howled, and hanged or burned someone in effigy. Perhaps it was the President, perhaps it was the negro, but the principle remains the same. They said it was an insult. It's not good to be a negro in the land of the free and the home of the brave. But this is nothing to do with San Francisco and her merry maidens, her strong, swaggering men, and her wealth of gold and pride. They bore me to a banquet in honor of a brave lieutenant, Carlin of the Vandalia, who struck his ship in the great cyclone at Apia and comported himself as an officer should. On that occasion, 'twas at the Bohemian Club, I heard oratory with the roundest of O's, and devoured a dinner the memory of which will descend with me into the hungry grave. There were about 40 speeches delivered, and not one of them was average or ordinary. It was my first introduction to the American eagle screaming for all it's worth. The lieutenant's heroism served as a peg from which the silver-tongued ones turned themselves loose and kicked. They ransacked the clouds of sunset, the thunderbolts of heaven, the deeps of hell, and the splendor of the resurrection, for tropes and metaphors, and hurled the result at the head of the guest of the evening. Never, since the morning stars sung together for joy, I learned, had an amazed creation witnessed such superhuman bravery as that displayed by the American Navy in the Samoan cyclone, till earth rotted in the phosphorescent star and stripe of slime of a decayed universe. That godlike gallantry would not be forgotten. I grieve that I cannot give the exact words. My attempt at reproducing their spirit is pale and inadequate. I sat bewildered on a coruscating Niagara of blatherum skite. It was magnificent, it was stupendous, and I was conscious of a wicked desire to hide my face in a napkin and grin. Then, according to rule, they produced their dead, and across the snowy tablecloths dragged the corpse of every man slain in the Civil War, and hurled defiance at our natural enemy, England, so please you, with her chain of fortresses across the world. Thereafter they glorified their nation afresh from the beginning, in case any detail should have been overlooked, and that made me uncomfortable for their sakes. How in the world can a white man, a sahib of our blood, stand up and plaster praise on his own country? He can think as highly as he likes, but this open-mouthed vehemence of adoration struck me almost as indelicate. My hosts talked for rather more than 3 hours, and at the end seemed ready for 3 hours more. But when the lieutenant, such a big, brave, gentle giant, rose to his feet, he delivered what seemed to me as the speech of the evening. I remember nearly the whole of it, and it ran something this way: "Gentlemen, it's very good of you to give me this dinner, and to tell me all these pretty things. But what I want you to understand, the fact is, what we want and what we ought to get at once is a navy. More ships, lots of 'em." Then we howled the top of the roof off. I, for one, fell in love with Carlin on the spot. Wallah, he is a man. The prince among merchants bid me take no heed to the warlike sentiments of some of the old generals. "The sky rockets are thrown in for effect," quoth he, "and whenever we get on our hind legs we always express a desire to chaw up England. It's a sort of family affair." And indeed, when you come to think of it, there is no other country for the American public speaker to trample upon. France has Germany, we have Russia. For Italy, Austria is provided, and the humblest Pathan possesses an ancestral enemy. Only America stands out of the racket, and therefore, to be in the fashion, makes a sandbag of the mother country and hangs her when the occasion requires. The chain of fortresses man, a fascinating talker, explained to me after the affair that he was compelled to blow off steam. Everybody expected it. And when we had chanted the Star-Spangled Banner not more than 8 times, we adjourned. America is a very great country, but it is not yet heaven with electric lights and plush fittings, as the speakers professed to believe. My listening mind went back to the politicians in the saloon, who wasted no time in talking about freedom, but quietly made arrangements to impose their will on the citizens. The judge is a great man, but give thy presence to the clerk, as the proverb saith. And what more remains to tell? I cannot write connectedly, because I am in love with all those girls aforesaid, and some others who do not appear in the invoice. The typewriter is an institution of which the comic papers make much capital, but she is vastly convenient. She and a companion rent a room in a business quarter, and, aided by a typewriting machine, copy manuscripts at the rate of 6 annas a page. Only a woman can operate a typewriting machine, because she has served apprenticeship to the sewing machine. She can earn as much as $100 a month, and profess to regard this form of breadwinning as her natural destiny. But oh, how she hates it in her heart of hearts! When I got over the surprise of doing business with and trying to give orders to a young woman of coldly clerkly aspect, entrenched behind gold-rimmed spectacles, I made inquiries concerning the pleasures of this independence. They liked it. Indeed, they did. 'Twas the natural fate of almost all girls, and recognized custom in America, and I was a barbarian not to see it in that light. "Well, and after?" said I. "What happens?" "We work for our bread." "And then what do you expect?" "Then we shall work for our bread." "Till you die?" "Yes, unless—" "Unless what?" "This is your business, you know. A man works until he dies." "So shall we." This without enthusiasm. "I suppose," said the partner in the firm audaciously, "sometimes we marry our employees. At least, that's what the newspapers say." The hand banged on half a dozen of the keys of the machine at once. "Yes, I don't care. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And you needn't look so." The senior partner was regarding the rebel with grave-eyed reproach. "I thought you did," said I. "I don't suppose American girls are much different from English ones in instinct." "Isn't it Théophile Gautier who says that the only difference between country and country lie in the slang and the uniform of the police? Now, in the name of all the gods at once, what is one to say to a young lady, who in England would be a person, who earns her own bread, and very naturally hates the employ, and slings out of the way quotations at your head? That one falls in love with her goes without saying, but that is not enough. A mission should be established." End of Chapter 2. American Politics. Recording by Tim Bulkley of BigBible.org.